נא שזאת תהיה המלחמה האחרונה. בשם כל הטנקיסטים ופניהם המאובקות אשר עברו את כל האש והשחיקות, בשם הימאים אשר פשטו על הנמלים ועיניהם כבדות ממלח.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please find your seats, the program is about to begin.
Yes, it hit me. I didn't really get it until about a week or two later. The Israeli embassy had pictures, images, voices from the victims themselves captured on tape, captured on their cell phones. And as there I realized, I've always been a staunch supporter of Israel, always. But there I saw something a little different. I saw the face of evil. And then one thing also struck me. There was a recording from one of the terrorists that was calling back to his home in Gaza. And he was yelling, I killed 10 Jews with my bare hand. I killed 10 Jews with my bare hand. And his father was on the line. His mother was on the line. The mother was crying. She wasn't crying because she was ashamed. She was crying because she was glad. That's evil. That's pure evil. And the father saying, your son is a hero, your son is a hero. That is evil. And so I thought I was a staunch supporter of Israel. Hell no, I'm a real staunch supporter of Israel now. And I'm going to echo my colleagues, Mario Diaz-Balart's words. We must support Israel. We must give them what they need in order for them to protect themselves. And they have to protect themselves in any way they see fit. Not a measured response, no. Because you know what? When somebody tells you they're going to give you everything, the moon, everything, don't believe them. Don't, okay? They're not. But when somebody tells you they're going to kill you, believe them. And so Iran, all these terrorists have been telling the Jewish people and the Jewish state, we want to destroy you, we want to kill you, believe them. And there's no compromise with those people. There isn't any compromise with terrorists that want to kill you. There's none. And so I applaud Israel for the actions that it's taken. Brilliant moves with the pagers and the handy talkies. I thought that was awesome. You know what was awesome about it? Those pagers were going to be used to conduct and help conduct acts of terrorism on other people, on the Jewish state. And they got blown up by those same things that they were going to use to kill other people. They blew up in their hips or everywhere. And man, I thought that was the greatest thing ever. And we should learn from Israel and how to really take care of your enemies, because they are the enemies. And so, look, I'm a United States congressman. I will stand and fight with Israel because Israel's enemies are the enemies of the United States. There's no ambivalence about it, none. They are our enemies. Iran is our enemy. Hezbollah is our enemy. Hamas is our enemy. The Houthis are our enemies. And those that help them are our enemies. And first, the only thing standing between them and us is Israel. So yeah, I'm gonna stand with Israel, and I'm gonna give them, in my role in Congress, I'm gonna give them everything that they need. And yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. And we need to learn from the state of Israel that the United States has to do what the United States has to do. And frankly, there's something else I'm going to fight for. I'm going to fight for our freedom in this country. Five years ago, would have never thought I would never see what I've seen in our campuses. People demonstrating for Hamas, terrorists, some kind of equivalency, moral equivalency. There is no moral equivalency. They're wrong, they're evil. Israel stands for justice, for the right. They're right. We need to stand with Israel. And I'm going to fight for Israel. I'm going to fight for the United States. And no more, hey, let's not say too much. No. We're going to fight. Just like President Trump said when somebody tried to take him out, fight, 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 fight. Thank you. God bless you all.
Interspersed with some of the remarks are going to be some stories. Allow me to share a story of a father who had to bury his son twice. On October 7th, at the base, the Gaza border, there was, as the base was overrun, there was a soldier who stood in his pillbox at the top, never left his post, and fought until his ammunition ran out, saving scores of his colleagues and killing, by some Israeli army estimates, 60 or 70 terrorists. In their brutality, when he was killed, they beheaded him. The family had a funeral for his body, but it was not until months later, in a daring raid, that the Israeli government and the Israeli soldiers put their lives on the line, going into a bar in Gaza and retrieving the head of this heroic soldier. The father said, "I have buried my son twice." Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a discussion. This is good versus evil, period. To light the next candle is Congresswoman Maria Salazar.
Good evening to all of you. It's a privilege and it's a pleasure. It's an honor to be here, standing in front of all of you and thinking that I am one of you. I belong to the House Foreign Affairs Committee, and I can remember about that evil that my colleagues Mario and Carlos were talking about, and unfortunately, we feel it and we see it every time we have to take a vote when it comes to Israel. On October 7th, a day that for sure will live in infamy, Hamas hoped to crush the soul of Israel, perpetrating something that you already know, the bloodiest massacre of Jewish people since the Holocaust. From these ashes of terror, Israel rose like a phoenix, emitting rays of its relentless spirit. Yet, in the face of unfathomable brutality on innocent Israelis, in the face of Iran's seven-front attack against the Jewish state, because that has been developing throughout this year, there are still those who condemn Israel and seek to justify the unjustifiable. And that's what I see in the House Foreign Affairs Committee very frequently. They're weaponizing this tragedy. They're injecting our institutions, the Ivy Leagues, the halls of Congress, with anti-Semitic venom. Today, we come together not only to mourn those we lost, but to never forget the terror that they had to go through and lived, but also to declare with no apologies that these forces who are seeking to harm will never prevail. They will never prevail. Why? Because Israel will never surrender, because the United States will never waver in its support for the Jewish people if there are people like Mario, Carlos, and myself, and Senator Scott in the United States Congress. Today, we reiterate one more time that we stand firmly with Israel, that we're not necessarily here to mourn defeat, but to pay tribute to the spirit of the Israeli people, that no enemy can conquer, and that no terror can erase. I repeat, Maria Salazar, District Number 27, representing the city of Miami, having probably one of the most important Jewish communities in the United States. You can count on my support to support what I consider the promised land. Vote after vote after vote. Until the enemy understands that Israel is a very special place because it has been anointed by the Almighty, and no one can defeat the Lord of Abraham. So we stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. Thank you for the opportunity, Rabbi.
Ladies and gentlemen, to light the next candle, Congressman David Gustav.
Good evening. I'm David Kustoff. I represent Tennessee's 8th Congressional District. And I thought, frankly, it was important to be here this evening to show our support and our solidarity with Israel and with the Jewish people. I'm one of 2 Jewish Republicans in the House of Representatives. I think we're going to have a third after November. But I must tell you that several months ago, I traveled to Israel, went to the kibbutz, went to the Nova Music Festival site. And the thing that struck me, and some of you may have gone there, when you go to the music festival site, the Nova Festival site, and you see those photos on poles of these people, and they're all young, staring back at you, how happy they were, again, how young, how joyous, and their lives were taken away from them. So I think about October 7th, 2023, and in some ways, it's a year ago, but it doesn't seem like that long, but we know that every day has been a day of agony. So I think about a number of things. One is, you've heard this over and over again, that, you know, there's good and there's evil. There's love and there's hatred. And good can prevail over evil. Love can prevail over hatred, but good and love have to fight. They've got to fight. And so I think about what Congressman Diaz-Balart and Congressman Salazar and Congressman Jimenez and Congressman Reschenthaler, who's here today, and me. We go to the floor of the House of Representatives and we talk about how important our relationship is with Israel, that we support Israel. And the American people need to hear that, and the world needs to hear that. And they do from the floor of the House of Representatives. I think about the resolutions that we put on the floor condemning anti-Semitism. And by the way, we had a resolution, it was mine, condemning anti-Semitism. We had 92 people vote present. They vote present, they might as well be voting no. It passed, but we need to send the signal to the rest of the world and to the United States that we absolutely support Israel and her right to exist. Rabbi, the district that I represent, the 8th Congressional District of Tennessee, it may be the most conservative district in the state of Tennessee. It's probably the most evangelical. But I'm going to tell you the message that I get from my constituents each and every day. And that is, Congressman, we must unequivocally support Israel. I get that every day. So Congress has to continue to give this message. But I tell you, I think about Prime Minister Netanyahu's joint address to Congress several months ago. And he said it so well and so efficiently. And that is that Israel's enemies are the United States enemies. We share the same enemies. They're common. And we've got to make sure the anti-Semitism that's been so explicit in this nation and around the world, we've got to fight it, and we've got to condemn it. And I realize it starts with people like us in the legislative branch, but also in the executive branch. And you think about what Prime Minister Netanyahu said. Those enemies, they only respect and frankly fear strength. That's from the executive branch. In November, the American people have a choice. I know who Iran and the proxies of Iran are rooting for to win the election, and you do too. We've got to make sure that we send that strong signal from the White House to Congress and all over the nation that the United States will absolutely and ultimately stand with Israel and with the Jewish people and condemn anti-Semitism. And we're going to continue to do that. And so I say this to you all. May God bless Israel. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
Congressman Guy Reckenthaler. As I said, we're blessed in Florida to have great leadership. I'd like to call upon Speaker of the States, the future Speaker of the State Senate, Daniel Perez, a longtime stalwart friend of Israel.
Thank you, Rabbi, for putting this together, and thank you all for being with us. Everyone deserves to feel safe in their own home, just as Israelis do in Israel, where the right to security and peace of mind is fundamental to daily life. The tragic events of October 7th shattered this sense of safety for many, profoundly altering the lives of Israeli citizens and those who stand in solidarity with the nation. The sudden violence and unprovoked loss of life reminded the world of the vulnerability that Israelis face, reigniting the importance of protecting the right to live free from fear and from violence. For the people of Israel and their supporters, October 7th marked a deep wound in the nation's psyche, but it also reinforced their resolve to stand strong in defense of their home and the values that they all cherish. And here we are, 1 year from that event, in the midst of having to once again make a decision between good and evil. And on behalf of the House of Representatives in the state of Florida and the House will choose good, will choose the blessed, will choose the Israelis every single day. God bless you all.
Someone who I wish I would never have to call up to light a candle. On October 7th, there was a commander of a brigade in Israel that heroically risked his life, and his life was cut short. I'd like to call upon Moshe Henkin, the brother of Avraham Henkin. May God avenge his blood. He was a commander that was killed defending other Jews heroically on October 7th. I'd like to call upon Ambassador Lana Marks to please light a memorial candle. I'd like to call upon Rabbi Yaakov Felig, Chabad of Coconut Grove, to light a memorial candle. I'd like to call upon State Senator Ileana Garcia. I'd like to call Dr. Nick Sabo to please light a memorial candle. I'd like to call upon Major Collado from the Florida Highway Patrol, who on October 7th, he and the dedicated Florida Highway Patrol immediately went into action and provided synagogues, schools, and Jews with a measure of comfort to know that they were protected that day. Major Collado lit the candle on behalf of Florida Highway Patrol Executive Tom Kerner, who is watching live, but is called to Tallahassee to work with the impending storm. I'd like to call upon President of H2O Everywhere and founder of Triple Double Real Estate, Andrew Greenbaum, Florida, leading Florida businessman. I'd like to call upon Oren Katan, one of the organizers of today's event. I'd like to call upon the CEO of Oracle, Mrs. Safra Katz. I would like to call upon Mr. Gal Tirosh to please light a candle. I would like to call upon Jacob Helberg, former commissioner, as commissioner still for the U.S.-China Commission, and a longtime friend of the Jewish nation, and someone who's become a good friend. I would like to call upon Ezra Cohen, former acting Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. I would like to call upon Michael Diaz, founding partner of Diaz Royce, to please light the next memorial candle. I'd like to call upon Joseph Rosenbaum, founder of Rosenbaum Acevedo, to light the next candle. Joe has many friends who were affected by what occurred in the kibbutzim in the South. I'd like to call upon an influencer, Siggy Flicker, to please light the next candle. I would like to call upon the president of the Latino Coalition for Israel and co-chair and founder of the National Task Force Combating Anti-Semitism, Mario Bromnick Esquire. I'd like to call upon Mr. Abraham Rivera, the Hispanic Faith Council President. A longtime friend of the President, Mr. Stephen Witkoff. I'd like to call upon Lee Zeldin, former congressman who does a tremendous amount of work combating anti-Semitism around the globe.
The events of October 7th were thousands of miles away from home, but in a way didn't feel any closer to home. We can't forget how we felt, the emotions that were within us, the resolve of the Israeli people. I believe that this attack on Israel would have never happened if President Trump was in the White House. We need to be strong and resolute in confronting the Iranian threat, support Israel in its efforts to defeat Hamas, and to ensure that Israel exists forever. Thank you for being here for this very important event to ensure we never forget, and this never happens again. Not here at home, not in Israel, nowhere in the world, to support religious freedom, to support the Jewish people, and to make sure that we in the United States do our part to ensure there is no daylight between the United States and Israel ever.
I would like to call upon Rabbi Mordechai Palgon, one of the directors of Yeshivat Torah Semes. Ladies and gentlemen, to light the last 3 candles of this portion of the ceremony are 3 Holocaust survivors. When they heard never again, they thought never again. Little did they ever believe that we'd be standing here in 2024 at a memorial service for 1,200 Jews killed on one day. I'd like to call to the stage, and ladies and gentlemen, as time goes on, we can never, never forget their sacrifices and the sacrifices made. They are Gail Spivak, Zina Spivak, and Nikolai Spivak, Holocaust survivors. And the correction, one of them was not here, and we were joined and blessed to be joined by another survivor, Yvonne Stein. I have been asked to deliver a message that not again, never again, and may God bless President Trump. I would like to call to the podium. I would like to call to the podium to conclude this portion of the event, Rabbi Benjamin Korf, Dean of the Lubavitch Education Center, to blow the shofar.
The blowing of the shofar is the sign of a higher calling, something that President Trump demonstrated today by visiting the gravesite of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the leader of the Jewish people in this generation, and calling and praying for the return of our hostages and peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats. There will be a 5-minute intermission.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Please take your seats. Yehuda. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Please take your seats. Thank you. Please take your seats. The program is going to continue. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats now. Thank you.
שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה. במעלות קדושים טהורים וגיבורים כזוהר הרקיע.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Rabbi Yehuda Kapelun.
Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats immediately. Please rise for the presentation of colors by the Florida Highway Patrol Honor Guard competitive team.
Mark, where are they?
I would like to call to the stage Assistant Director of the Miami-Dade Police Department, Rosie Cordero Stutz, to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation from Rabbi Mark Rosenberg, Chief Chaplain of the Florida Highway Patrol.
We say the words every year. On Rosh Hashanah, it is written, and on Yom Kippur, it is sealed. How many shall pass and how many shall be born? Who shall live and who shall die? Those words usually bring tears to our eyes as we think of the course of life and its eventual end. We learn to face the eventuality and we prepare for it as God gives us the strength to face it. October 7, 2023 crossed that line. We did not think it was possible to imagine the amount of death and the level of inhumanity that would take place just 78 years after the Holocaust, or that it would take place on a day celebrated by dancing with happiness and joy on the holiday of Simchat Torah. How many mothers and fathers expected to get calls from their children that day, begging to be saved as they ran away from death? How many children thought they would actually see the horrors and brutality that adults only speak of in whispers? How many were preparing a festive holiday meal while their loved ones were gunned down and taken captive? October 7 has left an indelible mark on all of us, especially today as we memorialize the one-year anniversary, while we continue to pray for our soldiers currently fighting there and for our hostages to return home now. Dear God, please gather our tears and use it to remember our pain and ease our hurt. 24-year-old Eden Yerushalmi managed to hide among her friends who had been brutally murdered while on the phone with her sister for 3 hours. Before being captured, she made a desperate call to the police, uttering her final words, "I'm running away. Please find me." Dear God, we are tired of running away. Please find us, protect us, and remember us. October 7 took the world of callous hatred and unforgivable brutality. Please, dear God, bless President Trump and all that he represents, as it takes a strong leader to stand up in the face of evil. Give him the courage and the resilience to bring peace to the world. Allow him the ability to accomplish the dream of prosperity, commonality, and harmony. Many around the world will remember the barbaric acts of October 7. Many will, but many won't. All of us here today stand united and share a vision of peace and tranquility, and we will always remember what took place on October 7th. May God bless us all, and may God bless President Trump with success in making the world great again. And please join me together by saying the three famous words of Am Yisrael Chai. And to that, we could certainly say, Amen.
Part of the memorial ceremony is to learn a brief verse from Ethics of Our Fathers, a Mishnah, and to say the Kaddish, the memorial prayer. I'd like to call upon, and feel very blessed to call upon, my father, my teacher, an educator for over 60 years, Rabbi Yaakov Keplun.
Mr. President, Dr. Mary Edelson, Yehuda, distinguished guests, colleagues, and many, many friends. The prayer of Kaddish, the memorial prayer, is generally recited in memory of loved ones whom souls have departed this world. In it, we do not cry. We praise and exalt the Creator and seek comfort and strength by acknowledging and understanding that God Almighty's actions are incomprehensible to us and beyond our understanding. Reciting the Kaddish empowers us to maintain our convictions. And by remembering the more than 1,200 souls who were murdered on October 7th, the 700 members of Israel's armed forces have been killed in action since that time, and those hostages who are no longer among the living, we're gathering here today in a spirit of unity. We solemnly pledge they will never be forgotten. Today, I'm about to recite the Kaddish prayer in their honor, and especially on behalf of the little children who one day, when they grow up, will be reciting the Kaddish on October 7th in memory of a beloved parent whom they never got to meet. Please feel free and say Amen at the appropriate times in Kaddish. And join me in song for the final line, which expresses our ultimate prayer and request and hope for peace, that we leave here with a spirit of strength, hope, and much faith. We say the Kaddish after reciting a short portion of the Mishnah. רב חנניה בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל, לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעל מה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, ויצמח ברכוני וחרב משיחי. בחייכון ובימכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם לעולמי עולמיה. יתברך ויתשתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו. לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידי הון ועל כל תלמידי תלמידי הון ועל כל מן דוסקים ברייתא דברתה דין ודקלתה ותר. יהי להון ולכון שלמה רבה חינה וחיסטה ורחמים וחיים הליכין ומזונה לברכה ופולקנה מן קדם והון דבשמיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. May God bless all who are gathered here today. May God bless the people of Israel. May God bless the American and Israeli hostages still in captivity. And may God bless the United States of America.
I would like to say thank you to the Honor Guard. Please take your seats. It is an enormous task to speak at a memorial for 1,200 people. Where does one begin? How does one describe a child who will never meet his parents? How does one describe parents who watch their children brutally murdered? How does one describe children who will never know their grandparents? 1,200 stories, 1,200 victims. Where does one begin? Everybody killed that day, as I said before, is their own story. 1,200 stories. But I'd like to share 3 short stories before I call up the speakers. The first is about 2 10-month-old boys, Guy and Roe. When Hamas terrorists overran their home, their parents put their 2 little babies in a cupboard. They insulated that cupboard with kitchen towels, and they stood in front of that cupboard, and they were brutally murdered. Man's inhumanity to man was on full display. Evil, brutality was on display. Absolutely horrific acts occurred on that day. 14 hours later, Israeli soldiers heard cries in a cupboard and discovered 2 twin 10-month-old boys who are now being raised by their uncle and aunt who will never know their parents. That's why we're here. Never again. They will never be forgotten. The parents' courageous behavior is what saved their children. We're going to talk about a Bedouin medic in the Israeli forces who refused to leave his wounded comrades and kept on treating them until he was savagely murdered by Hamas. There was an 85-year-old gentleman in Kibbutz Be'eri, if I believe is correct, who, when he heard the gunshots, he told his elderly wife and the caretaker to go into the shelter. And his daughter and granddaughter went into a room that did not have a lock. He happened to have been the actor in the kibbutz's plays. He placed his chair in front of the room without a lock. And when Hamas came into the house, he played the role of a lonely old man. After they found him, his body riddled with bullets, his wife and caretaker were found alive, and his daughter and granddaughter were alive. The man's final act was saving his family and his generations to come. What stories are we not telling? We could spend the evening here. Do we tell the story of my father's great niece who put her 4-year-old and 6-month-old boy outside and was killed by Hamas? and the children will grow up never knowing the loving arms of their mother. In Israel, we say there isn't a house that doesn't have somebody affected. When you go to the north, you have people, hundreds of thousands of people who have been moved due to rockets. You go to the south, there are kibbutzim that have been ruined. Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and Haifa have had rockets. Today, it's not just a memorial. It requires each and every one of us in the room to pledge never to forget. To pledge that October 7th, 2023 will never occur again. That all of us will do everything in our power to fight anti-Semitism and not remain silent. Never again must mean never again, not words from 1945, but from 2023. It is incumbent upon each and every one of us in the room, to the world watching, to the American public, to every minister, that every pastor, every imam, and every rabbi. We must educate people to respect law and order and the truth. And the truth is that good will triumph over evil eventually, but at what cost? Look at the room. That's the cost of one day, 1,200 souls. To the right and to the left, we remember the hostages who have now endured 1 year in captivity. But one thing about the Jewish nation and the American Jewish public is we will remain unbowed, undaunted. We will remember and we will rise. We will memorialize each and every single one of these victims in a manner that shows how the Jewish nation will continue on forever and ever. This event does not happen in a vacuum, so I must give some thanks. I would like to thank Oren Katan, my partner Ed Russo, who's not here tonight but was instrumental in making this event happen, Andrew Greenbaum, Itzik Rosmarin, Moshe Henkin, Moshe Kaploon, and all the volunteers who spent hours making this room happen and making this event happen. Ladies and gentlemen, entering the room in a brief moment will be two tremendous leaders, both of whom are friends. One is Dr. Miriam Adelson, who is one of Israel's biggest advocates, America's advocate, a woman who is a business leader, a philanthropic leader, and someone who cares deeply about the Jewish nation, the American people, and has made tremendous efforts to be here this evening to show that every life is precious, that 1,200 lives lost on October 7th will never be forgotten. And the second, someone who needs no introduction, certainly in this room, but a stalwart friend of Israel. His accomplishments speak for itself. The embassy, the Abraham Accords, the Golan Heights, but above all, his care, his affection, worrying about those who are less fortunate. leading the nation in its times of crises by example. Just recently, he was in a hurricane-ravaged state worrying about communications, but it wasn't his responsibility. But yet everything that goes on in America is his responsibility because he's a true American leader. He has fought for Israel, fought against tyranny, and believes strongly in the commitment of religious liberty and justice for all, equally and fairly. As American Jews, we humbly pledge tonight to never forget the 1,200 souls lost on that day, to never forget the families who lost loved ones since that day, and certainly never to forget the hostages until they are home safely, whether they be the American hostages, the British hostage, the Israeli hostages. Every one of them is a precious soul and deserves to be brought home safely, quickly, and immediately. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Miriam Adelson and former President Donald J. Trump.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats. Dr. Miriam Adelson.
Good evening, Erev Tov. First, I would like to give big thanks to the family, the Kaplun family, Yuda and his son Moshe Kaplun, and Ed Russo, and Alon Katan for organizing this great event tonight to memorize the terrible things that happened in October 7. An event that brings us together here, a fraternity of two faiths, Christian and Jewish, to mark a dark anniversary, a year since October 7, 2023, the darkest day of my life, of countless lives. It was a day whose horrors unfolded on the other side of the world while America slept. But a year on, after Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza has become a regional struggle against the genocidal and fanatical Islamic Republic of Iran, we are all wide awake to its impact on the entire world. And the world is looking again for U.S. leadership. Many of you will know Admiral Daniel Hagari, Chief IDF spokesman. He has appeared on TV regularly to brief the Israelis and the American about what's going in Israel of this terrible and existential war. He said something remarkable the other day on TV, that he is stuck in October 7, 2023. That the hundreds of sunrises and sunsets he has seen since all felt like they were part of the same horrible, unending day. I understand that we are still learning new details about how 1,200 of our brothers and sisters were kidnapped and tortured and butchered by Hamas
torturados
and by
y asesinados
supposedly
por Hamas
innocent
y
Palestinian civilians
por
that
supuestamente
you see
inocentes civiles
in the
palestinos
pictures invaded also
que ustedes
Israel,
ven
though they were not
en
part of their army,
esas
and
imágenes,
raped and killed Israel.
quienes no eran
So
miembros
these are
del
the
ejército
innocent people.
y violaron y mataron
But
gente.
despite
Estas
the
son las
profound
personas
pain,
inocentes, pero a
the
pesar del
heartbreak,
profundo
the
dolor,
worry for the 101
de
blameless
el
children,
sufrimiento por
women,
esos niños
and men still held hostage
que no
in
tienen
Gaza,
culpa
I am
y
not
quienes siguen
stuck in this day.
en rehenes en Gaza,
I am
yo no
focused
estoy
on what
estancada en
October
este día.
7
Yo
means
pienso
for
en lo que
Jewish
el 7 de
history
octubre
and the
significa
Jewish
para la
future,
historia judía y para el
and the
futuro judío.
lessons are grim.
Y las
I am a
lecciones
Tsabarit,
son
a
duras.
native-born Israeli. I was
Yo
raised to believe
nací en Israel.
that the rebirth of
Yo
this
fui
Jewish
criada
state marked
con la
the
idea que
beginning
el
of the
renacimiento del
end
Estado
of the
judío
global
era el
antisemitism
comienzo
that had
del final
robbed
del
my
antisemitismo
parents
mundial,
of their families
que
back
le
in
robó a mis
Poland
padres sus
during the
familias
World War II.
en Polonia
As a
durante la
child,
Segunda Guerra Mundial.
I felt
Cuando era una
that
niña,
something bad had
yo
happened in Europe. Rumors,
sentía que algo
gossiping,
terrible había ocurrido
but I
en
first
Europa,
learned the facts
pero
of the
yo
Holocaust when I was
vine
just
a conocer
16.
a
And
fondo el
Israel
holocausto cuando
put the Nazi
tenía
war criminal
15
Adolf
años,
Eichmann on
cuando
trial,
Israel enjuició al
because
criminal de guerra
before
Adolf
our
Eichmann,
parents wouldn't talk.
porque antes
They
de
didn't
eso
want to hurt us. They
nuestros
couldn't
padres
talk.
no hablaban, no querían
Still,
hacernos
the
daño,
survivors
no hablaban de
who
esto, pero aún así
testified
los
during
sobrevivientes
Eichmann trial
que
sounded
testificaron en
like
el
they
juicio
had
de
come
Eichmann
from an entirely alien
sonaban
reality.
como si vinieran de
One of
una
them
realidad alterna.
even referred to the
Uno de ellos
concentration camp,
hablaba de los campos de
planet
concentración
Auschwitz,
como
like he was
el
in another
planeta
planet.
Auschwitz, como si
With
eso
my
fuera
late
otro
husband,
planeta.
Sheldon, zichrono
Mi
livracha, I was
difunto
proud to
esposo
sit on the
Sheldon
board of
Holigahat,
the United States Memorial,
él
Holocaust Memorial Museum,
se sentía
and to
orgulloso
support,
del Museo
sponsor
del
Yad
Holocausto
Vashem in
en
Jerusalem.
Estados Unidos.
We did so mainly in commemoration of our
Y
6 million martyrs,
nosotros
because
conmemoramos a
we
nuestros 6
believed
millones de
in
mártires
the motto,
porque
never again. But I
creemos
lost
en
that
el
belief
lema
a
nunca
year
más,
ago.
pero hace un año
Gone forever,
esa fe
because
se
what
fracturó
was never
para
meant
siempre,
to happen again
porque
happened
esto que no debió haber
again.
ocurrido jamás se repitió. Los judíos se enfrentaron a un pogrom. Indefensos, perdieron su vida, su libertad y su dignidad frente a una turba sanguinaria que coreaba sus consignas en árabe y no en ruso o en polaco o alemán. Y cuando Israel contraatacó, descubrió que mucha gente en Occidente prefería condenar a Israel en lugar de Hamas, que acusaron a Israel de genocidio, que pedían que a Israel se le privara de armas para su defensa, que querían que los judíos se sintieran que no eran bienvenidos en las universidades de Estados Unidos, tildando a los israelíes de criminales de guerra. Esa es la gente que permitió que ocurriera el holocausto, y esa es la clase de gente que permitiría otro 7 de octubre. Dios no lo quiera. Si hubiera otro 7 de octubre, vendría con una nube en forma de hongo. El mismo Irán que financia a los hutíes en Yemen y a Hamas en Gaza está trabajando intensamente para desarrollar armas nucleares, para completar la tarea de destruir al Estado judío. Esto no puede ocurrir. Israel no lo puede permitir. Y los amigos de Israel, particularmente estos grandiosos Estados Unidos, no lo pueden permitir. Siempre cito una frase de la Biblia. Y esta vez lo voy a decir en hebreo y lo voy a traducir.
A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity.
El amor de un amigo dura por todos los tiempos, y los hermanos nacen en la adversidad. Si nuestro invitado hubiera estado en la Casa Blanca hace un año, no creo que hubiera ocurrido lo que pasó el 7 de octubre.
Okay. You didn't let me finish the sentence.
No me permitieron completar la frase. Lo ocurrido el 7 de octubre jamás habría tenido lugar. Jamás no se habría atrevido. Hezbollah no se hubiera atrevido. Los hutíes no se hubieran atrevido. Y el ayatollah de Irán jamás se hubiera atrevido. Porque los malhechores entienden cuando se enfrentan a alguien que tiene verdadera valentía. Ellos pueden identificar a un líder que puede convertir su vida en un infierno si se pasan de la raya. Ellos se burlan de la ONU, de las resoluciones de condena de la ONU dirigidas a ambas partes del conflicto. En tanto y en cuanto no se identifique a esta gente por lo que son, nunca enfrentarán consecuencias. Y los enemigos de Israel son los enemigos de Estados Unidos y del mundo libre, porque son los enemigos de la civilización. Él sabe cómo hablar con firmeza, Pero más importante aún, Él sabe cuándo se acaba el tiempo de hablar y cuándo es el momento de luchar por lo que es correcto. Él es Donald J. Trump, el mejor presidente que haya tenido Estados Unidos. Y el mejor presidente que Estados Unidos volverá a tener, Dios mediante. Por favor, vamos a darle la bienvenida a nuestro amigo y nuestro hermano, el presidente Trump.
Wow, that was something, huh? Thank you very
Bueno,
much, Miriam.
muchísimas gracias.
Thank you. Very special woman, I have to say that. Friend of mine.
Una mujer muy especial,
She is, very,
amigos
very
de larga
special,
data.
and her
Ella es
husband
muy
is.
especial
This was one tough cookie.
y
He
su
loved
esposo
Israel. And you talk about special,
amaba
that
a
was a
Israel.
special man,
Y
wasn't
cuando
he?
hablamos
He
de
was
alguien
great.
especial,
So I want to thank you very
él era
much,
un hombre
Miriam, and
especial. Muchas
for all of the
gracias, Miriam,
exceptional commitment that you've given
por
to the safety and
todo tu
security and
compromiso
the prosperity
con
of the
la
United
seguridad
States
y la
and Israel.
prosperidad de Estados
Before we
Unidos e
begin,
Israel.
I would like
Antes de
to
comenzar,
tell you that there's a very
quisiera
violent hurricane that's
decirles
coming down the line,
que
and
este
it's a Category
terrible
5, which is something that I've never
huracán
heard
que
a
viene hacia
Category
acá,
5 actually come
un
onto
huracán de
land, but it looks
categoría
like it's going
5,
to. And right smack in
parece
the
que
middle
va a
of
tocar
Florida,
tierra
nobody's seen a line like that. And it's
en
heading
todo el
there
centro de la
quickly. I have
Florida
to tell you that
y
I
está
called
avanzando
Miriam. I said
rápidamente.
I was in New York, and I
Yo
said,
le hablé a Miriam, estaba en
maybe
Nueva York,
I
y le dije,
shouldn't
Miriam,
fly. I think I'm the only person that flew down
bueno,
to Florida tonight.
no sé si debería
Because I
volar.
didn't have a
Creo que
chance
soy la
with
única
hers. You know,
persona
I said,
que voló esta noche a
Miriam,
Florida.
maybe I should
Dije,
stay
mira,
back and, you
quizá
know,
debería quedarme
heading
acá,
into a
no sé,
hurricane, Miriam.
en lugar de
It made no
volar
difference. No, you
hacia
have
el
to
blanco
be
de
here.
un
Our
huracán. Me
friends
dijo,
are
no,
there. And I
tienes
said,
que
okay,
venir.
when you say
Nuestros
that, I'm
amigos
going
están
to be
allí.
there
Dije, bueno,
100%.
está bien, si tú lo dices,
I'm gonna be
100%,
there.
allí estaré.
I was watching the airplane
Yo
highways. And they were all
estaba
heading this way as I was going that way. They said, what's he
viendo
doing?
a la gente en las
But I wouldn't
carreteras,
have missed
iban
this
todos en sentido
regardless. I
opuesto.
wouldn't have missed this for
Pero
anything. This is a very
jamás
special
hubiera
time, and it's a very special day.
tenido la
This is the day
oportunidad
we
de
have
estar
to
aquí
do
esta
it.
noche. Es un
This
día
was the
muy
day we had
especial.
to do it.
Esto
We
es
don't
algo
have
que
to
teníamos que
postpone it
hacer.
for a week. This is the day.
No
Because I'm
podíamos
looking forward
posponerlo
to coming back and maybe seeing all
porque
of these seats filled up
estoy
the next time. That's what I
ansioso
want.
por la próxima vez tengamos todos estos asientos ocupados. Eso es lo que
So we're
queremos.
praying for Florida, and we hope
Estamos
everyone is
orando por
safe, and we're
Florida,
praying
esperamos que todos
for
estén a
North Carolina,
salvo.
all
Oramos
of
por
the
Carolina del
different
Norte
places. You look at Georgia
y
and
todos los lugares
Alabama and
afectados en
Tennessee
Georgia,
and South
Alabama,
Carolina and
Tennessee,
Florida.
Carolina del Sur,
It's
en
amazing.
Florida.
This has been an amazing period of time, but the response
Ha
has been
sido
very
un
weak,
periodo
unbelievably weak. Nobody's ever
increíble.
seen such a weak
La
response,
respuesta,
so we have
sin
to get a
embargo, ha
strong
sido muy
response.
débil.
And now we
Nunca
have
se había
another
visto
one
cosa
coming, and it looks
semejante.
like it's going to be a
Ahora
whopper.
tenemos
I also want to thank
otro huracán
Rabbi
y
Kaplan
parece que va a
for
ser un
doing
golpe
such a
fuerte.
great job. I appreciate
Le
it.
agradezco al
Your
rabino
son, I
Kaplan por
appreciate
su
that.
trabajo, gracias a
And
usted,
we
a
have
su
a
hijo.
lot of very, very powerful people here
Y
tonight. Great
tenemos
people.
gente muy
Senator
poderosa aquí
Rick
esta
Scott,
noche.
a big fan
El
of
senador Rick Scott,
Miriam, and a big fan of Israel. Members
un
of
gran amigo de
Congress,
Israel,
Carlos
miembros del Congreso,
Jiménez,
Carlos
Mario
Jiménez,
Díaz-Balart, thank
Mario
you.
Díaz Balart, gracias,
Maria Salazar,
María Salazar,
Guy Reschenthaler, David
Guy
Kutzoff,
Reschenthaler, David Katzoff,
Congressman Lee Zeldin, he's helping us win New York.
congresista Lee Zeldin, nos está ayudando a ganar Nueva York y lo vamos a hacer. ¿No es así, Lee?
Ambassador David Friedman, what a job
El
he
embajador
did.
David Friedman,
Everybody loved him.
trabajo excepcional.
Robin Bernstein, where's Robin?
Robin
Hi,
Bernstein,
Robin,
¿dónde
how
está?
are you? Good
Hola,
job
Robin,
you
¿cómo
did as
estás?
the ambassador. And
Excelente
Duke
trabajo
Buchan, thank
como
you very
embajador.
much.
Y
You raised
Duke
a lot of
Buchan,
money for our campaign. We appreciate it.
alguien que ha levantado
The
una gran
Council
cantidad de dinero para nuestra campaña.
And I think you all know, Mara, where are
Cónsul
you? Where are
general,
you? Where is he? What a
¿dónde
good
está?
job you've done. Where are you?
Ha hecho un
Thank you
trabajo
very much. What a
excepcional.
beautiful job.
Muchísimas
Thank you
gracias.
very much.
Muy buen
Thank
trabajo.
you. And Florida House members Danny Perez and Randy
Danny
Fine.
Perez
Randy
y
Fine.
Randy Fine, miembros
Where is
de la
Randy
Cámara de
Fine?
Representantes de la
Randy Fine's been out
Florida.
there.
¿Dónde está Randy Fine?
Thank you, Randy. Great job.
Gracias, Randy.
State
Muy buen
Senator
trabajo.
Ileana Garcia.
La
Keith
senadora estatal Ileana
Raboy.
García Keith.
Thank you. Ed
Gracias.
Russo. Oh, Ed Russo,
Ed
environmental
Russo,
specialist. Whenever I have a problem, I call
especialista en
Ed
asuntos
Russo, and he
ambientales. Cada vez
solves
que
the
tiene un problema lo
environmental
llamaba
problem for me.
y él
We
sabe
appreciate
cómo
it.
resolver los
And somebody
problemas.
who's been a great
Se lo
defender
agradecemos.
of ours on
Y alguien que ha
television,
sido un
on
gran
Fox and
defensor nuestro en
elsewhere, but
televisión, en
particularly
Fox y
on
otras
Fox,
cadenas,
Elizabeth
pero especialmente en
Pitco.
Fox.
Where's Elizabeth? She has been
Elizabeth Pitco
so great. Thank you, Elizabeth.
ha sido maravillosa. Gracias,
Person,
Elizabeth.
one of the greatest business people in the country, in the United States, and I think actually beyond. And she's been a fan,
Una
and I've been
excelente
a fan of
empresaria
hers, but she's been a friend of mine for
en
a long
Estados Unidos y
time.
en el mundo,
Safra
una
Katz, thank you very
amiga
much.
de larga
Thank you,
data,
Safra.
Safra
Haven't
Katz.
seen you. You look well.
Hace tiempo no te veía, te ves
So
muy
we're
bien.
here this evening in solemn
Estamos aquí esta noche
remembrance of one of the darkest
en
hours of
solemne
all of
recordación de
human
una de
history.
las horas más
1 year ago
oscuras en la
today,
historia de la
every
humanidad. Hace un
civilized
año,
person was filled with shock and
el mundo
horror
civilizado se
and grief at the
estremeció y
news
se
of an
horrorizó
evil and
frente a
so
la
absolute
noticia
that
de
nobody's
una
nobody's
maldad
seen anything like it.
desbordada
Nobody's seen
de forma
anything,
sin
and it really
precedentes. Nadie había
barely
visto
be
cosa
described. You
semejante.
can't describe it. October
Es algo
7th was not
indescriptible. El
just
7 de
the
octubre
deadliest day for
fue
the
no
Jewish
solamente el
people
día
since
más
the
sangriento
Holocaust.
para
It
el
was
pueblo judío desde el
not just the
Holocausto.
worst terror attack since 9/11. It was an attack on
Un
humanity
ataque
itself. It
terrible
was
como
a
el 11 de
hideous,
septiembre, pero fue un ataque contra la humanidad,
incredible cruelty. It was
de una
chilling savagery.
crueldad
It was
increíble,
demonic delight and the destruction
de
of innocent life on
salvajismo
October 7th.
diabólico,
It seemed as if the gates of hell
y
had sprung open and
parecía
unleashed
que
their
se habían
horrors onto
abierto
the
las
world, and
puertas
that's
del
exactly
infierno.
what happened.
Y eso
What
fue
a
lo que
moment
ocurrió.
in time, what a moment in horrible
Fue
history,
un
horrible
momento
history. Today we mourn
terrible en la
more than
historia.
1,200
Hoy
innocent
recordamos
victims
a
of
más
the
de 1.200 víctimas
October 7th
inocentes
attacks, whose memory
de
we
los
honor
ataques
with
del 7 de octubre.
1,200
Honramos su
beautiful
memoria
individual candles, and we honor
con
them
1.200
with grace and with
velas
gratitude for their
y
lives
los
and for their families, what
honramos
their
con
families have
agradecimiento
gone
por
through.
ellos,
And
por sus
maybe we'll
vidas,
have a moment of silence,
por
please.
sus vidas y quizá hacemos un momento de silencio, por favor.
Thank you very much.
Muchas
To
gracias.
every family that
A
lost
todas
a loved
las
one, I know
familias
so many of them.
que perdieron seres
On that
queridos, conozco a
terrible day,
muchos.
including several here tonight,
Ese
we
día,
grieve with you, we
muchos
stand
están aquí
with
esta
you,
noche,
and we make you
compartimos su dolor,
this
estamos al lado de
sacred,
ustedes
sacred vow,
y
very
hacemos
simple
este
vow, a vow you've heard many
juramento
times, and
sagrado,
sometimes it's
algo que
honored
han
and
escuchado
sometimes
muchas
it's not,
veces.
but this will be
A
honored.
veces se cumple, a
Never
veces no, pero esta
again.
vez se va a
Never
cumplir.
again.
Nunca más, nunca más.
The monsters who perpetrated
Los
those
monstruos que
murders also
perpetraron
took
estos
over
asesinatos
250 hostages,
también se
men,
llevaron a más de
women, and children,
250
including 12
hombres, mujeres y niños en rehenes,
In so
incluyendo
doing,
2
they inflicted the
estadounidenses,
most unthinkable torture not only on their
causando una
captives, but
tortura
also
terrible
on
no
the
solo en
families who were
sus
forced to live
rehenes, sino
day
también
after day in
en las
excruciating
familias
agony
que han
and pain,
tenido que
not
vivir
knowing
sumidas en
whether
esta
their loved
agonía,
ones were dead
sin saber si sus seres
or alive.
queridos
Can you
están
think of
vivos
anything
o no.
worse? Tonight,
Pueden
we
pensar
send
en
our
algo
love
peor.
to every innocent soul who
Esta
remains
noche
in Hamas
expresamos
captivity.
nuestro amor
We just are not gonna
hacia
stand
los
for it.
cautivos de
We're not gonna
Hamas.
take it. We're not gonna take it any longer.
No lo vamos a
We
aceptar.
pray that through the darkness they know that we have not
Esperamos
forgotten
que
them, that
sepan y sientan que no han sido olvidados,
forsaken them. We will never forsake them,
que
and we will
nunca
never
los vamos a
abandon them.
abandonar
With God's help, they will come
y con la
safely
ayuda
home,
de
and
Dios
it will be
van a
soon. We hope
regresar
it
a
will be
salvo a
very
sus
soon.
hogares y esperamos que sea
Very,
muy
very
pronto,
soon.
muy pronto.
And we hope they're safe. Nobody
Y
knows.
esperamos
I was
que
talking to
estén a salvo.
somebody
Nadie lo
today, and
sabe.
the family has no
Hoy
idea. They
hablaba
think
con alguien, la
their
familia
boy
no
is
sabe.
safe. Beautiful boy, beautiful
Piensan
young
que
guy,
su
American.
hijo,
He went over
un
there
hijo
to
hermoso,
enjoy and
esperan
to
que esté
pray,
bien. Él estaba allí
and,
para
they've never
orar,
seen him
para
again,
disfrutar.
but they think he's
No
alive.
lo han vuelto a ver, pero piensan
And,
que está vivo.
Can you imagine that? Can you even imagine?
Pueden siquiera imaginarse eso. También quiero decirle a todo el pueblo de Israel que ha pasado este largo año de vilipendio y guerra y conflicto, estamos unidos a ustedes. El nexo entre los Estados Unidos e Israel es fuerte y perdurable. Y
when I'm president. I don't say that. I never say that. If
Yo
and when
nunca digo cuando sea
I'm
presidente, sino
president of the
si
United
acaso
States, it
llego a
will
ser
once
presidente
again
de
be
los Estados
stronger and
Unidos,
closer than it ever was
nuevamente
before. We have to win
tendremos
this
un
election.
nexo
If we
más
don't win
estrecho
this
que
election,
nunca. Tenemos que ganar estas elecciones,
consequence for everything.
porque si no es así, las consecuencias serían terribles.
You know, I say that November 5th will be the most important day
El 5 de
in the
noviembre
history of our country. I think it will also
será el
be
día
the
más
most
importante en la
important day in
historia
the
de nuestro
history of
país
Israel,
y
if you
creo
want to know the
que
truth. I
también será un día
believe
muy
that. I think you
significativo
believe
para
that too.
Israel. Creo que ustedes piensan lo mismo.
Over the past year, there's
En
been
el
an
último
effort by
año
some to deny
ha
the horrors
habido
of
un
October
esfuerzo de
7th,
algunos
just as
de
some
negar los horrores del 7 de
unbelievably
octubre,
deny the Holocaust
como
itself. And
hubo
you
quienes
have that, and you
negaron
have
el
people that
holocausto.
actually say, oh,
Hay
October
gente que
7th, it
dice,
never
bueno, el
happened.
7 de
Where
octubre
did
eso
these
no
people
pasó
come from?
nunca.
Where did they
¿De
come
dónde
from?
salió esta
And they
gente?
don't believe it.
Y
They
no lo
don't believe
creen.
it. They want others to believe it. They don't believe it. That's why
Ellos no
it's
lo
so
aceptan.
important to remember
Por
and
eso
to
es
state
tan
clearly for
importante
history what happened on
recordar
that
y
terrible
dejar
day.
claro para la historia
The
lo que
only
pasó
way
ese
we
día
can
terrible.
keep
La
our
única
vow
forma
is never
en que
again,
podemos
and
honrar nuestro
it really
juramento
is to
de
also
nunca
say
más
never ever
es
forget. We can never forget the
nunca
nightmare of
olvidar.
that day still
No
hangs.
podemos olvidar la
The
pesadilla de ese
horrible,
día.
the horrible legacy of what's
El
taken place, the
terrible
survivors,
legado
the families
de
of
lo
the
que le
dead,
ocurrió
and
a
Jews
los
all over the world.
sobrevivientes, a las
Hamas
familias,
raped, tortured,
a
maimed, and
judíos
murdered
de todo el
innocent
mundo.
civilians in the most
Jamás
barbaric ways
violó,
imaginable.
torturó
Nobody
y
can believe
asesinó
what they saw,
a
and
personas de la manera
it's
más
there for
salvaje.
those to see if you want to
Algo
see it.
increíble.
It's a terrible thing. I've seen
Está a
it.
la vista, es algo terrible. Yo lo he visto.
They paraglided into a music festival
Ellos
full of life and beauty. From the
se
skies they
lanzaron
came and massacred young
en
people who
parapentes sobre un
came for
festival de
joy and
música.
happiness and peace. They were
Había
loving
gente
young
que estaba
people,
allí para
wonderful young
disfrutar
people,
el día. Eran gente
beautiful
joven y
people.
maravillosa,
One
gente
young
hermosa.
woman whose friend had been
Una
killed
joven
was seen begging on her knees for her life. She was
estaba
begging,
implorando
"Please,
por su
please."
vida,
Her
estaba de
last words
rodilla
were,
y
"Don't kill
decía,
me,
por
please
favor,
don't
por
kill
favor,
me,"
no
before
me
the
maten,
terrorists
no me
shot
maten.
her
Y
dead
los
in the face.
terroristas
Elsewhere,
le
a
dispararon a
child
la
and
cara.
an adult were bound together with metal wire,
Un niño
burned
y
alive.
un
A
adulto
baby
los
was
amarraron
shot through
con
the heart
alambres,
while
los
still
quemaron
in the
vivos.
mother's womb,
A un bebé
ready
le
to be
dispararon en
born,
el corazón,
and shot. Today we reaffirm
estando aún en
the
el vientre de su
entire
madre.
world to hear there can be no
El mundo
acceptance, no
entero
excuse, and no
tiene que
understanding
entender
of
que
this
no hay
kind of evil. It's
aceptación
the
ni
evil
comprensión
like
de esta
nobody
clase
has
de
ever
maldad.
seen
Es
before.
una maldad
Nothing can justify it,
que
nothing
nunca
can
se había visto.
rationalize it.
Nada lo puede
And any
justificar o
person who
racionalizar.
sympathizes with
Y
it,
cualquier
with
persona
these terrible
que
atrocities, is a
simpatice
sickness
con
in their
estas
soul and a
atrocidades
darkness in their heart. And these are
tiene el
people
alma
that can never
enferma.
be our allies or our friends. Almost as
Nunca
shocking as
podemos
October
ver a esta gente
7th
como
itself
aliados o
is
amigos.
the
Algo
outbreak
tan
of
sorprendente como eso
anti-Semitism that we have all
es
seen
el brote de
in its wake.
antisemitismo que hemos
I never
notado
thought I was going to
después
see
de esto.
this. Never,
Nunca pensé
ever.
que vería
This is
cosas
so
semejantes.
incredible to be witnessing. Whoever thought
Es increíble
we thought
presenciar
this
esto.
was very, very
¿Quién
rarefied,
hubiera podido
putrid
pensar
air? We never thought we'd see it,
que
and
habría
we certainly
tanta
never thought we'd
putrefacción?
see it in this country.
Nunca
And a lot of that
pensamos
has
que
to do
veríamos
with
eso en
the
este país
leadership of
y
this
mucho de eso
country.
tiene que ver con
This
el
attack,
liderazgo que tiene el país.
yeah, well, that's true. We need
Es verdad.
leadership.
Necesitamos
Thank you.
liderazgo.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. It's very sad to see. I never thought I'd
Es
see it. This attack
triste.
should have rallied the entire
Este
world in support
ataque
of the
debió haber
Jewish people
motivado
and
al
the
mundo
Jewish
entero en
homeland.
apoyo
Instead,
al
an
pueblo judío y al
ancient
Estado judío.
scourge of
En lugar de
anti-Jewish
eso,
hatred. And this was something we
provocó
thought
un
was
desbordamiento
left to
de
hundreds and
antisemitismo.
thousands of years ago. I mean, this was something we never thought
Y
could happen. The
esto es algo que
anti-Jewish
nunca
hatred
pensamos
has
que se repetiría.
returned even here in America, in
Todo
our
este
streets,
odio,
our media,
incluso aquí en Estados
and our
Unidos,
college
en nuestras
campuses, and
calles,
within
en
the
los
ranks
medios,
of
en las
the
universidades
Democrat Party in
e
particular.
incluso
Not in the
en
Republican
las
Party, I will
filas
tell you
del
that. It's
Partido
not in the
Demócrata, no en el
Republican
Partido
Party.
Republicano, por cierto. Y les digo que el Partido Republicano no se ha infectado de esta terrible enfermedad. Y esperamos que no sea así. No pasará mientras yo esté a cargo, se los puedo asegurar. Estas velas, fotografías y las sillas vacías nos recuerdan por qué es tan importante condenar el veneno del antisemitismo y ponerle freno al odio antisemita. Eso no tiene cabida en una sociedad civilizada, no tiene cabida en nuestro universo y especialmente esto no tiene cabida en los Estados Unidos de América. Más de 2.100 sobrevivientes del Holocausto se vieron afectados por los horrores del 7 de octubre. Muchos tuvieron que huir de sus hogares, no podían creer lo que estaba ocurriendo. Algunos perdieron la vida, muchos perdieron la vida. Uno de ellos, Moshe Ridler, él escapó de un campo de concentración cuando tenía 11 años para morir a manos del mismo odio 8 décadas más tarde. ¿Pueden imaginarse qué pensaba en medio de todo esto? Murió a manos de terroristas de Hamas por la misma razón que lo persiguieron los nazis, por ser judío. El mundo no puede seguir por este camino peligroso. Tenemos que ponerle coto a este odio y destrucción y honestamente hay que ponerle fin ahora. Si no actuamos, la situación solo se pondrá peor. El ataque del 7 de octubre jamás habría ocurrido si yo hubiera estado en la presidencia. En los últimos 2 años se ha demostrado que la debilidad solo conduce a la violencia. Hay debilidad, pero también hay mucho odio. Hay mucho odio. Lo que se necesita más que nunca es volver a un liderazgo sólido en Estados Unidos y fortaleza de Estados Unidos. Nosotros éramos fuertes, poderosos y respetados como no había ocurrido en décadas, hace solo 4 años. Es por eso que espero recuperar todo eso como el 47º presidente de los Estados Unidos. Como ustedes saben, Hamas ha quedado severamente degradado y se está lidiando con Hezbollah. Se les han asestado golpes muy duros, eliminando a su liderazgo. Ahora por fin está al alcance un Oriente Medio más armonioso, pero no tienen idea del papel que tiene que desempeñar Estados Unidos para llegar a la meta. Y sin Estados Unidos esto no va a ocurrir. Tenemos que hacerlo y hacerlo bien. Y tenemos que volver a una hermosa forma de vida. Hay que completar lo que se ha comenzado, así que mi compromiso con ustedes en este día solemne, no voy a permitir que el Estado judío sea amenazado con la destrucción. No voy a tolerar otro holocausto del pueblo judío o una yihad contra Estados Unidos o nuestros aliados. Y yo voy a apoyar el derecho de Israel a ganar la guerra contra el terrorismo. Y la tiene que ganar pronto. Y quisiera agradecerle a este gran empresario neoyorquino. Quiero que lo sepan. Creo que es importante mencionarlo. Ha contribuido considerablemente. Steve ha sido sumamente generoso. Muchas gracias, Steve. Yo voy a defender a nuestra población judío estadounidense, sus lugares de oración, sus escuelas y sus valores. Vamos a salir de quienes odian a los judíos, que no le aportan nada a nuestro país, solo quieren destruirlo. Y nunca vamos a permitir que los horrores del 7 de octubre se repitan en suelo estadounidense. Vamos a resolver este problema. Si ustedes ven lo que ocurrió hace solo 2 días en Nueva York, no lo podía creer. Y dije, está empezando otra vez el nivel de violencia, pues tan terrible como en el verano pasado. Si podemos hacer todo eso, realmente podemos asegurarnos que los que perecieron el 7 de octubre no hayan muerto en vano. Esas muertes no pueden ser en vano. Eso no se puede aceptar. Con la ayuda de Dios, su sacrificio abrirá el camino para una nación más fuerte en Israel, un Estados Unidos más seguro, y al fin podremos alcanzar el sueño de generaciones. Vamos a seguir adelante. Vamos a convertir esto en algo que pueda llenarlos de orgullo. Esta gente sacrificó sus vidas por algo muy especial, pero tiene que haber unidad, tiene que haber paz y fortaleza. Necesitamos tantas cualidades. Vamos a unificar todo y vamos a tener paz en el Oriente Medio, vamos a tener fortaleza y resiliencia y tendremos a un Israel poderoso y voy a acompañarlos en todo. Muchas gracias. Dios los bendiga y Dios bendiga al pueblo de Israel y Dios bendiga a los Estados Unidos de América. Muchas gracias.